Fresh Start, New School, New Friends, New Challenges by Gale Galligan is a middle-grade graphic novel about starting over. It's loosely based on the author's own childhood, moving around the world and frequently changing schools.
Ollie's family moves around, like, a lot. So, every time Ollie does something super embarrassing, she always gets a fresh start next year. Except this time, Ollie's family is staying here for middle school. Is there anywhere she can be herself? Does Ollie even know who she is if she stays in one place? Can Ollie make the most of this fresh start?
Hi, I'm Dan Skinner, and welcome to the Kids Bookshelf. Ahead, we'll explore the book, and I'll talk with the author about the inspiration behind it. Gale Galligan is the creator of the New York Times bestselling Babysitter's Club graphic novel adaptations of Dawn and the Impossible 3, Christie's Big Day, Boy Crazy Stacy, and Logan Likes Marianne by Ann M. Martin. Galligan is also the creator of Freestyle, an original graphic novel that they both wrote and illustrated. Gale joins us to talk about Fresh Start, New School, New Friends, New Challenges. Gale, welcome to the Kids Bookshelf.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Now, I understand that the inspiration for this book comes in large part from your own childhood, so tell us a bit about that.
That's right. So as a kid, I moved around a bit. Because of my dad's job, I lived in places like Bangkok, Thailand, Frankfurt, Germany, and I loved it because anytime something embarrassing happened, anytime I got into a fight with a friend, I could just hit the bricks and start over, no consequences. So when we moved to Northern Virginia, just in time for middle school, and I found out we would be staying there forever, it was the actual worst. I had to get over a lot of embarrassing stuff, make and keep friends just in time for puberty. It was a lot of big feelings, and I was really excited to share all of that in this book in a funny and thoughtful way.
So in this book, Ollie is the central character, and Ollie, one of the things I got out of the book in terms of themes is that Ollie stays true to herself. At one point, her mother is trying to get her into dresses, and she said, no, I'm going to dress the way I am. And all through the book, she does that. So it seems like perhaps of the many themes that are in this book, staying true to yourself is one of them.
Absolutely. That's something that was a lot harder for me as a kid, wanting to do right by your parents, wanting to do right by the people around you, being told a lot of different ways to be. And for me, a lot of my journey growing up was understanding that it's okay just to be yourself, and there's no one way to be a person.
And in this book, Ollie eventually finds her people by common interest in manga and anime and in art as well. So let's talk a little bit more about the plot. Like I said, there's a lot of similarity between your own life and what Ollie and her family are going through. But tell us a bit more about the plot and your character, Ollie.
Absolutely. So like me, Ollie moved around a lot, ends up in one place. And I really wanted to let this character's creativity and joy shine. Something that we have in common is that one of the ways we started to feel comfortable was finding a place where we could truly be ourselves. And for Ollie, that is art. No matter where Ollie goes, there's a sketchbook, there's something to draw, there's anime to watch. And one really special experience a kid can have is finding other people who love the stuff that they love. Ollie finds a group of kids who are really into Ollie's interests. That's reading, that's drawing, that's anime, and they find ways to explore those interests together. I was really excited to show that aspect of being a kid and being a kid who's really excited about things.
And Ollie initially, and even draws sketches of all of these different people, but then makes assumptions about those people, which she later finds out weren't true.
That's right. So part of the idea of learning there's no one way to be a person means deconstructing the ideas you have about other people too. One really crucial point in this book is where Ollie makes an enemy, right? This gorgeous, popular girl named Nina, who everybody loves. And halfway through the book, Ollie finds out that she thought Nina was white, but Nina is actually a multiracial Thai-American kid just like her. And that helps her start to see that she's making assumptions too.
And also finds out that she also likes anime.
Exactly. It's like it doesn't matter like how popular you are, how cool you are. Like different people have lots of different kinds of interests.
I want to talk a little bit more about the themes in this book because another sort of theme I got at was communication. And it was, things like listening to your sibling, standing up for your sibling, trying to communicate with your parents who sometimes aren't always right. But in this case, there's an instance where Ollie really stands up for her sister.
Absolutely. I'm glad you noticed because that was a theme I really wanted to bring through. For me, growing up, especially in that age, communication was the thing I was figuring out the most, where I would have these really big feelings and not know how to share them, not feel like I could share them without being judged. And honestly, the part where Ollie stands up for her sister is something I didn't learn how to do until much later. Like knowing how to advocate for yourself, knowing how to take care of others as a young person, that's something that takes a lot of practice. And I really hope that, if somebody is in a similar situation with a friend, with a family member, if they can read this book and get something out of it that way, that would mean a lot.
Another thing I have to ask about, which we saw more in the first part of the book, is Ollie's vivid imagination. And there's the sort of soul seekers and and that seems to go away a little bit later, but I'm wondering if that's an indication of kind of what Ollie's going through, that has this kind of imagination that's between him and his sister or her and her sister. But I just kind of found that interesting. It's kind of was kind of externalizing something that she was feeling inside.
Yeah, 100%. For Ollie, like imagination and creativity are such a big part of her experience, right? I really want to find a way to visualize that, first of all, to say, like, here's how Ollie sees the world. And also, like, when Ollie goes through things, when Ollie is bored or, like, really upset about something, she's going to find a way to visually externalize that. So for the first half of the book, where she's going through so many different kinds of changes, getting into fights, I wanted to find ways to creatively show that through her eyes and show that she is kind of escaping her reality. This is how she sees it. That doesn't necessarily make it true. So towards the end of the book, I wanted to find a way to twist that a little bit. Basically, at the end of the book, Ollie has a big dance sequence, right? She's been learning Thai dance with her friend and trips. And it's the absolute worst. Like, it's the thing that she wanted to escape most of all. But this time, she does not have to imagine an escape. She gets to imagine how her friends are there watching and supporting her so that her imagination can be her strength, like it could have been all along.
I'm talking with Gale Galligan about Fresh Start, New School, New Friends, New Challenges, and our conversation will continue. If you're enjoying this discussion, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. And thank you. I want to talk to you a bit about your experience writing this book, but your experience as a creator in general, in that, as you know, often with books, graphic novels, and other types of books for kids, there's an author and an illustrator, two separate people. But in your case, you're both. So I'm wondering if you feel like that gives you a creative advantage.
100%. My favorite thing about comics is that they're not just words and they're not just pictures. Both truly do inform the other. Like, as a really simple example, if you have a drawing of someone saying, I'm having a great time, and their face is the most miserable face on the planet, like that tells you an entire story in itself. The contrast between the art and the words creates a whole new story for you. So when I'm doing both, when I'm creating a story with the visuals in mind, when I'm working with myself to communicate the ideas I have in mind, it means that I get to be really playful. I get to find ways to guide the reader to the story I want to show and tell using a whole humongous toolbox.
And then I assume there's this internal dialogue going on as your own editor, and you're saying, well, I could put this in text, but I could also just show it, so I don't need those words. So you're trying to find this balance between what you're showing and what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, like one of my tics as an author is that I have a tendency to my characters say, ooh, like when they see something really exciting, it's like, wait, no, like I can just draw that part too. It's fine. I don't need all the words.
I'm wondering also about just how attitudes may have changed over time, because I remember when graphic novels were kind of first coming out that especially educators would kind of frown at it and say, no, these are just comics. They're not really having a literary value for kids. How do you see that having changed over the years?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting time to be a cartoonist where we're starting to get more of that understanding, acceptance, and literature about all the many ways comics are amazing for readers of any age. You have that visual literacy, like I mentioned, where when you're reading a comic, you are interpreting lots of different things all at once, whether you realize it or not. You're understanding how drawings of people are acting. You're learning how to flow your eyes across the page and interpret images. You are looking at colors and understanding what kind of mood is being conveyed. You're doing a lot of things that you do in everyday life, whether that's with ads, films, on the stage. You're learning a lot of really valuable visual skills, but you're also working on your communication. Because comics have that visual element, you also get to use more complicated words. And there are stories for every different kind of reader. The most important thing is to be excited about reading, right? And we have graphic novels for everybody. Like with the Babysitters Club, which I adapted, you might read these graphic novels and find out, hey, like they're also prose books. I'm going to get these too. I talk to a lot of people who love comics, get into prose through comics, and get to learn about a lot of different ways to read. So these are all things that we've been in discussion about, and it feels like we have a lot more advocates on the teaching side, on the library side, on the parent side. And it's a very fun place to be.
Another interesting thing you do in this book, because it relates to your real life growing up, is that at the back of the book, you have a series of photos and more information about your own life.
That's right. I really wanted to share some of those connecting elements where, hey, this is a story about a kid, but here's the kid I was so you can understand. I also went to Thai temple and learned the dance. And I wanted to share a little bit more about that experience and my culture.
So besides just a fun read, and we've touched upon a few things, but what are some of the other things you're hoping kids will take away from the book?
Absolutely. The very, aside from have fun, I hope you laugh. I did my best to be funny. Aside from that, I genuinely do want to share the idea that there's no one way to be a person. There's no one way to be a girl, a boy, somebody else. There's no one way to be Thai or white. There's no one way to be a friend. There are many ways to look out for the people around you, to stick up for each other, and to share how you feel. And even if something horrible happens, and it probably will, especially if you're a tween, there are going to be people on the other side that are waiting for you.
What's next for you?
Ooh, well, I'm working on a few new creative projects that I can't quite talk about yet, but what I can tell you is that this will be my first time working with another creator. And I'm really enjoying being able to actually bounce ideas off of somebody else and make something together that we could not have done on our own. I hope you look forward to it.
The book is Fresh Start, New School, New Friends, New Challenges by Gale Galligan. Gale, thank you for talking with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great talking with you.
Now, if you'd like to purchase Fresh Start, I've placed a link for you in the description below. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. Meanwhile, here are 2 more books you might find interesting. Thank you for watching this edition of the Kids Bookshelf. I'm Dan Skinner. Until next time, keep sharing the gift of reading.